ahead and first of all, give a big thanks to Gamesbond for agreeing to doing this. I want everyone to know that the questions that are going to be asked are not reviewed or previewed or approved beforehand by Gamesbond. Now, he might have read some on the forum page, some of the questions, but he doesn't know what's going to be asked. Gamesbond also has permission from me that if he chooses or doesn't want to, let's say, go down a road or talk about something, because the purpose of this is not to bring up dirt on the team or on the project. The purpose of this is just to kind of give the player base a small insight of what the server looks like behind the scenes as a non-player. That's the purpose of this. Some of the feedback that the player base usually gives is that they don't hear from the staff. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand why X is being done instead of Y. Y is in letter. So that's what the purpose of this is. It's not to answer questions of 100%. It's not to make everyone feel great about a certain decisions. It's just to give a little bit of insight behind the scenes of what it looks like from a community manager point of view. So that all being said, Gamesbond, if you can hear me, you want to go ahead and say hello, introduce yourself once again to the stream.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you well. So I'm Gamesbond, the previous head of community management at Return of Reckoning, and I joined I think like in 2020, and I left at the end of I think at the middle of 2022 because of there was no issues, nothing at all. I just I moved to another country, so I was really busy in real life, so I had to drop down.
Okay, so why or how did you find the server to begin with? Like what drove you to even become a community manager on the server, or even part of the team in general? What kind of was your drive to do that? Something like that.
So like at first I discovered the game. I was playing another game, and there was like a group of people who seen the Lazy Peon video, and they were discussing it on this other game. So we all sort of moved together, and obviously they all stopped playing, but I continued and I enjoyed the game, especially that I'm someone who likes MMOs and likes open world PvP. I think 3 months into the game, I believe I started approaching Max. If there's a way I could help them on, I believe we started on social media, so it was just like basic work. Putting some posts, taking some screenshots here and there, helping wherever possible. And I started to ask him to be more involved in the project. And, throughout several months, we just created this community management team, which was dedicated for the community. And then I think a year later, we expanded it.
That's actually something I did not know. At all. I thought you were part of the team a little bit longer than that, and I had no idea that you were a Lazy Peon transplant. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
I thought you were before that.
No, I was actually from the Lazy Peon wave, but a lot of players from the Lazy Peon wave just they kept on playing. Like, of course, the majority left because the majority would be here to like out of curiosity to try the game, and a lot of us stayed. Was part of these people who stayed.
So, before we actually officially started going kind of down the road, I kind of want to get your opinion then, since you were part of the Lazy Peon. This is just a personal question for me. Since you're part of the Lazy Peon, why do you think the majority of them left as quickly as they did, and you decided to stay? Like, what kept you to stay where they decided to leave?
I think it pretty much comes down to each person and how much time they have to sink into the game, and what they expected from the game. I think a lot of factors impact whether you stay or not on Warhammer Online. It doesn't matter like if you're staying for a year or 3 or more. I just think like it's what you expect and what the game delivers, because obviously it's not like a perfect game due to the fact how it was recreated. And it's definitely, since it's a classical MMORPG, it's definitely tougher and requires more time than newer MMOs. So I think all of these factors impact uh, how each individual decides to stay or leave.
Okay. I mean that's a fair answer. I only know of a few people that are actually part of that original 2020 wave of players that have actually stuck around. So I'm actually very happy to hear that you're actually part of that group of people. So okay, so first of all, so now that we got that out of the way, we got the introductions out of the way, and my own personal question out of the way. To really get things kind of started, one of the things that somebody wanted to know is, and I know you're gonna hate this question right off the bat, is, since you are a Bond, do you prefer it shaken or stirred?
What?
I said,
I didn't get you.
since you are a Bond, do you prefer it shaken or stirred?
I have no idea what does that mean. I'm not, by the way, I'm not like a huge Bond
Okay.
fan. I just like the name, and like it's been with me, for some time.
Well,
I'm sorry for whoever asked the question and got disappointed now, but yeah, I'm pretty
No,
sure I messed up.
it's okay. You completely ruined the joke. I understand
Yeah.
100%. So it's fair. Everyone's now laughing at me. You're fine. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed I ruined the joke.
Yeah, it's a James Bond movie reference. So anyway,
Yeah.
um, so to get things kind of started here, I did create a list of questions. We will go ahead and take questions from the stream as well. So if anyone has questions, in the stream, please go ahead and ask it. I would request that you put a Q in front of your question. That way I know it's a question. I do have some moderators in the stream. So, just keep it civil and we will be good to go. So, one of the few questions, or one of the first questions I really have from the community here is, someone wants to know, do you know of any plans, even though this is not something that you directly worked on yourself as a community manager, but do you know of any plans or any way of augmenting the engine in a way of changing the terrain, landscape, anything along those lines? Is that something that is feasibly possible that you're aware of? Any communication about that? And if so, or if not, why not? Or if so, yes, and you might expect this to happen.
Right. So since it's a purely technical question, like I'll be honest, in all of my answers, I will not have the precise answer, and also adding to that the fact that I left several months ago, so I will not be updated to whatever is happening in the team. But what I know for sure is that if there is 1% that something like this is possible, I'm pretty sure that Max and the other developers will try to find a way to adjust the engine and how the whole process is done and the performance of the game could improve. If there is a slight chance of this happening, they will definitely try to explore how to do it.
Okay, I appreciate that, and that's actually the type of answer that I was expecting from you. Since again, you being a community manager, you're not really hands on with the technical side of things, but it was a question that came up, and I wanted just to ask it. So I appreciate the answer.
Sure, you're welcome.
So something. This is a good question because this is more in line to what you did as a community manager. And first of all, let me ask you before we actually get started with this question: what was the role of a community manager? What was your day-to-day activity? What did that look like?
So when we started with community management, it was basic. It's still basic compared to development, of course. Each role has its own weight, its own duties. What makes the whole team great is this combination of every role working with another role. So coming back to your question, it's mainly to be there for the community, like in a simple way. This is, I think, the simplest description. be there for the community. So in case someone needs something needs help, it needs a voice inside the team, regarding anything, like there's no limitation to what someone could use the community manager for. As well as, being present on social media, trying to promote the game. Now, personally, later on, I this is a community manager. Now, another role inside the community management team could be someone handling, public relations with publishers to write articles. So, none of the articles you see now online are just created by publishers who come and play the game. By editors who come and play the game and then come up with an article. They are all being fed by our team across the years. So all of the leaks, all of the scoops, exclusive information, they're all being fed from our side to some publishers. Of course, we have preferences of some publishers over others, depending how we work together.
Okay, that's actually very interesting. As Gonark says in the stream, that's actually more in depth than I thought your day to day really was. So I appreciate that. Now, kind of going in line with the social media aspect, and somebody in stream did ask a question that I was actually going to bring up, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit, and that is regarding Twitch drops. I believe during your tenure as community manager or lead community manager, you introduced Twitch drops to the server. Is that correct?
I introduced it in a way. So I'm gonna use this question to explain how things go, to give credit, to the right people. So by introduce Twitch drops, it means that I announce it, but there's Max mainly who worked on it in the background. But because we handle communication for on behalf of the team, it shouldn't give us all the credits that this person introduced Twitch drops. It's actually Max who worked on all the development. Mainly, I used to work on setting the campaigns up, and we worked together on preparing the rewards. But in terms of who worked on it, I would give all the credit to the developers. We just announced it, so it wasn't something I would take credit of. It would have happened whether I was there or not.
Okay, I think you're being a little humble on it, but I do appreciate the answer. So you're giving the majority of the credit to Max Heyman. So in case no one knows, if anyone is new, Max Heyman, can you tell everyone who Max Heyman is?
Yeah, so Max is the lead developer and technically the owner of the server. And him and I, we work closely together on a daily basis or campaign basis. I work with other people as well, but mostly it's with Max. My work is usually with Max.
Okay. I just want to give everyone a little bit of a background of who Max Heyman was, in case they're new. So thank you very, very much. So going back to Twitch drops, in your opinion, did Twitch drops, did the program, or is the program, since it's still technically currently going, did the program have the outcome that either you or Max wanted?
Yes, because the outcome that we there are two outcomes that we expected, and I think both of them delivered. The first outcome is that we started providing exclusive rewards or normal rewards or additional rewards, however you want to put it into this scenario. We started providing rewards to the player base just as any other any triple A game would provide to its own community. So we really I honestly don't think any private game has this Twitch setup other than us. I'm not really sure, but I don't think any other game has it. The second outcome is from a promotional perspective. Obviously, when you're a streamer, you'd want to be part of Twitch drops, especially when we started it. It was exclusive to our most prominent streamers. Now you didn't have it because you didn't want to, just to make things clear. It's not like we excluded anyone, but yeah, it helped us from a promotional perspective, and it also helped the streamers getting more numbers, more viewers, and more followers.
Now, regarding the Twitch drops, at first you had the program where you had to, as a streamer, you had to apply to become a Twitch drop streamer. Now, later on iterations, that was removed, and it was basically just a blanket. If you stream, and if you have it enabled as a streamer, you get you're a drop streamer, correct? Why was that changed from the apply process to everyone can be a drop streamer?
Yes, this is absolutely correct. So I use it at the start as a way to. So now we're gonna dig into details that are related to managing the community, streamers, and also benefiting from all these things. By benefiting, I mean like the end result will be beneficial for the game, for the project itself, not as an individual. So we wanted to make sure that we can promote the content that we want. So obviously, if you remember when we first launched the Twitch drops, we handpicked some streamers, and these streamers were added to a Discord channel where they are given specific exclusive information that would promote X event, whatever the event was running back then, or whatever we wanted to push through these streamers to the community. This allowed us to, it's not the right word, but let's say control what we publish on Twitch drops, and make sure that what we want to deliver on Twitch is delivered by these streamers. Then moving forward, we started to expand this list because honestly, I like it felt a bit unfair to others, and then we had some streamers who were precisely active during the Twitch drops, then they would leave after the Twitch drops. So all these details like allowed us to expand, or actually see that this wasn't the ideal option. So we started expanding the list. We started adding more and more. We started adding language-specific streamers. And then I think now it's just open to everyone who would like to stream. Now, in some rare cases, even though it's open to everyone, we limit it to a specific list when we start seeing these bots who would come, like they have absolutely no, they don't have any presence on any game. They just start streaming wherever a Twitch drops is happening in order to get more viewers and followers.
Okay. Now, speaking about me individually in regards to Twitch drops, I did at first sign up to be a Twitch drop streamer. I did remove myself later on. I think it was the second or third drop that was released. On a personal level, and again, this is about me personally, did you understand why I didn't want to become or stay part of the event, or was it more of a confusion aspect?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember, and I may miss like the whole point here, but if I remember correctly, it was because Twitch drops sounded like a plastic viewership or plastic followers, if that makes sense. Is that right?
Effectively, you're correct. My issue with it was that as a streamer on a fairly small private server, I found, and this is just me on a personal level, I found that it was a fake boost in viewership because I stream more for the engagement long term with my viewers, not to have, let's say, 700 people in a stream, and then as soon as they either got their reward, either not watch me, or as soon as the event ended, never come back to watch me, or not to engage at all while they were watching me. So that's why I decided to no longer be part of the program. Does that make sense to you of why I chose to do that, or is it still something where you're like, it doesn't make sense, but it's his channel, he can do what he wants?
Uh, as an individual, again, like from a personal answer, and someone with a marketing background, I don't think it makes sense. But it was your channel, so it was your decision.
Okay, I appreciate the honesty. I really do. Thank you very, very much. And to tell you
Yeah.
the and to tell you the truth, 99% of the people tell me that I'm wrong for doing what I did. But I appreciate the honesty. So thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I even mentioned it like when you took the decision. I think like we always transparent with each other.
mhm.
So I think I mentioned it back then.
No, I certainly, and I always respected our relationship. I do remember back in the when Twitch Drops first was introduced. I do remember the communication. I do remember, you would I don't want to use the word leak, but I'm going to use the term leak even though it's technically incorrect. You would give streamers or leak streamers information about upcoming events, prizes, things along those lines. So I
Definitely, yes.
yeah, I always did appreciate the relationship that you and I had in regards to that, even though when it comes to Twitch drops, I guess I disagreed with the personal outcome. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
So kind of continuing on the Twitch drops. One last question, and then we'll change it up here a little bit. The Twitch drops currently appears to be the same. You can just stream it and then leave it. In the form of any streamer. Is that something that before you left as a community manager, were you considering the possibility of going back to an application system to avoid having, let's say, 30 streamers who've never played the game come in, stream the game for a week, and then leave and go to the next game? Or do you prefer the system how it is now?
With the current viewerships that I'm talking again like several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
With the current viewerships, I think it's better to keep it this way because like when we restricted it, it was when streamers outside of the community could actually benefit from 1,000 viewer or from like 500 viewers. But now whoever comes from outside the community will not benefit from this amount of viewership because because of the state of the game and the amount of people watching Return of Reckoning on Twitch. If if you've asked me this question when we first launched the first or second Twitch Drops events, yeah, I would definitely keep them limited because we were having 2.2k viewers like on this at the same time. So this is definitely beneficial for anyone just visiting or passing by this wave, whereas like we wanted to keep it for the community streamers. Now it doesn't really matter. I don't think anyone would benefit that much from just being there on Twitch drops and then leaving.
Okay. Um, I would say depending on the streamer, from a monetary standpoint, I would either possibly agree or disagree depending on the individual streamer. I would agree or disagree with you. But anyway, we will move on. And the next question that someone had in regards to your role, and that is, what do you think about the state of the Return of Reckoning communication before you took over as a community manager? So how was it before you took over? Was it something that you thought needed to be improved, or like, what was your thought on the state of the communication?
Are we talking? So again, my role, for me, not for all the other CMs, but for me, my role was internal communication as any other CM and the public relations one. Are we talking now about the communication outside of the team, like team publisher, team social media, or internally,
I think more of a
or both?
for more of a management to player communication. So in the form of updates, patches, direction of the server, plans going down, let's say 6 months down the road, things along those lines. Because I would say when you were a community manager, I thought the communication as a whole went up. So that way the player base understood what was happening more often. What do you think? Do you think is that what drove you to be a community manager? Is that you didn't think enough was being said for the community or to the community about the program itself, or were you happy with the communication and you just want to be a part of it?
No, I don't think anyone could reasonably say that that the communication previously was decent, and by decent I mean both fully respectful or fully transparent with the community. So I think this was one of the major issues of the team. Now, one of the good things about the Return of Reckoning team is that they most of the times they learn from the mistakes, or they pinpoint gaps and they try to fill them. And to prove this, after that I joined, and we like I discussed it with Max and with the other team leaders. We started to improve communication, and I think they are much more respectful and much more transparent now. And by respectful, of course, I mean there are a lot of, I think that there are some staff members who who try to trigger other players, who try to, like, at least, like, all in all, they don't answer the way they should answer. We pinpointed this internally, and we I think it's in a much better place now. So yeah, I think overall there was an issue. We worked on it, and I think I would say like it's 70-80% fixed. Now, regarding the part where there's like 6 months down the road and all these things, sadly, like what every single time we say in our Q&As, like the inability or that we simply cannot promise that this will be done in X amount of time. It's really true. Like they really cannot commit to something that could be done, because it's really a tiny team and things could go south really fast. Like they could discover that they could fix one bug today, or start working on some program that would enhance, I don't know, the engine, for example. And while doing this, they could break 100 things. So they have to fix all these things and, rework everything. So it's really hard for the team, and I'm being completely honest. It's really hard for the team to promise something with a specific amount of time. So players should really, like the whole community should really understand the fact that they cannot share what's coming next, because it will be like a burden on, like it's gonna be like heavy on their shoulders that, oh, 3 months ago we told them that 3 months next 3 months in the future we will deliver this, and we didn't deliver it yet. So you know how tensions start to pile up. So, I don't know if I didn't answer it. Let me repeat. Like if you think I still need to say something.
No. You answered it perfectly fine, in my opinion. However, I will ask a follow up to it, and that is, in the past, and this is before you became part of the team. There used to be I would say, maybe a trend, I guess the player base had, of where it was something was promised and that it would never happened, or it was under delivered in the form of communication, in the form of patches, things along those lines. Which is one reason why I think the whole meme of 2 weeks started happening. When is the update going to happen? 2 weeks. When is the change going to happen? 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I think that meme kind of started. In regards to the communication from the team to the player base, do you feel that after you left the team and you left the server, which we all cried about, do you feel that the communication was in a much better place, and do you think it still is in a better place? And kind of a follow-up to that, or a pre-question to that, is how much do you keep track of the project now on a personal level? Do you currently still read the forums? Do you have any communication with the staff? Do you talk to the players at all currently, or no?
All right. So to answer your first question, I think we definitely like this is my opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with it. I hope the players agree with it as well. That when like by the time I left, communication was in a much better place than when I joined in 2020. And I think it will still be in a good place because it wasn't only me who put some restrictions or who put some guidelines on how to communicate things or how to uh, discuss points with players or how to handle like a player who's angry. But I think all of us on the team, we started, like this is how we did it. It worked out. Let's do it again. We did it again. It worked out. So, being on the like replying in a positive way and a supportive way worked out most of the times. So I think all of the team now has this approach. Now, to be honest, I'm not checking the forum frequently. I may check it like I don't know once every few weeks. So I'm not entirely sure if anything is if any issue is popping or any drama thing is being is happening. But yeah, like to answer your second question, I'm not like frequently checking. I'm not getting updated by the team because my like the reason why I left isn't because anything bad happened or because I disagreed with anyone else. We left on perfect terms. We I think we did in a couple of months before that I left. We did like a whole team Zoom call. So everything was perfect. I just left because of personal reasons, and I could have stayed. But if I have stayed, I wouldn't have been able to give like 100% to the project and to the community. So I'd rather leave than give half of what I can, because I don't think this is like efficient neither for me or for the project or for the players.
Okay. So since you're no longer really a part of the team at all, you get no communication, things along those lines, and you're only on the forums, let's say once every few weeks or whatever. So you don't really connect into the game at all. Do you still play it at all? Do you ever log in, even on a very casual level, to kind of get an idea of the attitude of the player base, or are you 100% removed?
To be honest, I log in every while and then rarely, mostly just to keep the player names, the character names, I mean.
Okay.
But in terms of like actually checking or reviewing like how people are being treated or how announcements are being done, no, like I'm not like again when I like if I the decision was that I leave and now I left, I created space for whoever wants to come next, whoever wants to fill this gap. It's someone else's role now, so I need to respect my decision. I need to like I'm not even giving like hey, I believe this should be done like that. I left and this is the decision, so I'd rather not get into anything.
Understood. So I think you just answered my question that I was going to have for you, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and that is, if you were to let's say find out, or if there was sentiment by the player base that the communication or trust from the player base to the team has, let's say, decreased back to the pre 2020 levels, how it was before you joined the team, would you feel, let's say, upset or feel like your time was wasted on the project in that regard?
I'm gonna start with another question first. Like, is this question like, is it happening or is it just like a random question?
Uh, I'm gonna say it's probably a little bit happening and a little bit random.
All right. So I wouldn't say that my time was wasted. because I enjoyed my time, and
Okay.
if you enjoy doing something, so it's never like a wasted time. And while I was working on the team, I was also playing the game and doing stuff here and there. So it wasn't only communication. I wouldn't be upset. I would be, if this is the case, let's say it happened, I would be disappointed by the people I worked with to enhance this communication, and if it's not respected now, or if things are back to the way it was, then I would be disappointed in the people, and that's just it.
Okay. That's a fair response.
Yeah.
I would say, if not that I talk to every player, of course, because I don't. But in my small community of player base in the small Twitch stream that I do, I would just say I think the majority of the player base that I talk to feels that you were really missed, and I'll just leave it at that. Um, and I'll just leave it
Thank
at
you.
and I'll just leave it at that. So, um, next question is: Do you have any examples of in-game additions from the community manager Discord feedback? Do you think that that was a success? So apparently there was a community manager Discord channel. I'm not 100%. I think this is the one where you gave streamers insight, I think is what they're asking. But do you feel that was a success?
I mean, if this is the channel we're talking about, the one for the Twitch, the Discord, I'm sorry, for the streamers. If this is it, it didn't have a huge purpose, because most of the exclusive information are sent usually by DM, like just the way how I used to send them to you. So I don't think we could really judge success of this channel, because it didn't have any real purpose besides sending updates on the first few Twitch drops.
Okay. Okay. It's something that I don't really get involved in the official Discord for the project, only because on a personal level I'm usually pretty outspoken, and I try to stay away from the official stuff so that way I don't get myself in trouble. So
Yeah.
I generally stay away from the official stuff. Um So what was it like to work on the project? What was some really good aspects of it, and what were some things that you maybe didn't like as much being part of the project?
Um, I mean, like, I'm gonna start with the with the negatives. Um, I don't think they are many, and I think it's not really a negative. It's like right now, if you want to work with if you want to work in any company, in any government right now, you're gonna have the same negatives that I could list, which is dealing with other people. Because when you deal with other people, you have other opinions, you have decisions that you cannot control, and this is perfectly healthy. Like, you can't say that. Like, I think I noticed one of the questions asking if I've done something, or I've taken care of something that I didn't agree with, but because it was a final decision, so we had to move forward with it. I mean, of course, I've had any single team in any company, in any government, in any game. These things will happen. So the negatives would be obviously when people are maybe stubborn regarding one idea, or maybe when things are rushed, or there's like some internal miscommunication, or some developer forgot to update the community managers regarding something that is coming in the near future or in the next patch. Like, these things happen. So I would just say these are the negatives. There isn't really anything else. There isn't anything major, and these things happen in any company or group of people. Regarding the positives, first of all, you're working with people who are willingly giving up their time to help a community grow and to help work on the community, whether it was game masters, other community managers, developers, and artists. Artists are like one of the hidden heroes of the team, because you could see a really cool skin. You would do a whole event for like 3 days just to get this skin, and nobody knows who has done it. Like nobody knows that this artist spent hours like working on this cape specifically. He had to submit it internally, for review and for approval. Maybe he did some changes because we had different opinions. So this is one of the beauties of this team, is that you work with other people who are equally passionate about the project. Now, of course, you might have people with different levels of passion or different ways to do things or to handle things. But all in all, it's just basically a group of passionate people working for this game. If they weren't passionate enough, they wouldn't, waste their time. There's absolutely no individual benefit from working, for Return of Reckoning. You can't like put it on your CV, even though like don't get anything. It's not like you can put it somewhere. So yeah, this is all in all the ultimate positive point.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, kind of going back to the artist, if I may indulge, if I may throw out a name, I'm gonna mention a name who I think you're talking about. I could be mistaken, but I remember, I think it was a couple years ago. He was a player, and I want to say his name was Flosen. I want to say, I
Yeah,
could, I
Flossen is part of the team now, I think.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Since you kind of brought up the artist, is that the artist that you're talking about, or is there someone else who is like a hidden gem that no one really knows?
there's still again, like my information now is based on like 10 months ago. So
Okay,
there's
yeah,
still one more person. Like I think he's a great artist. Of course, Flosan does really really amazing stuff, by the way. But but Flosan is now part like of the team. He has his tag, he has his forum presence, and all these things, and he's active on the forum. The other hidden gem is, I think it's Echoline's friend. He worked like for several, like I think 5-6 events with absolutely nobody knows like who the hell is doing these capes, to a point where we started telling the guy like you need to be part of the team, even though like he doesn't use Discord, he doesn't I don't think he plays the game, but he's doing a really great job for the community, and nobody knows like who this guy is. So he worked on all of the capes in the past, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the past 2 years, all of the capes that you've seen in exclusive events, he's worked on them. Of course, there are ones that are really, really good, and ones that they are average. You have to add average capes and average armor in any sort of event. So you could get some parts of it easily, and the better looking parts in a much harder way. Yeah, so this is the person I was talking about.
that's very cool. I mean, I knew of Flosen because he was a player. He used to come on my stream a couple times. But it's really cool to know there's a hidden person behind the scenes that really, he seems to want no accolades, no credit. He doesn't want to, let's say, take off the mask and say this is me. He's just behind the scenes working on the project, and no one knows of him.
Yeah, it's like, speaking of this point specifically, and let me know by the way if I'm diverting a lot.
No, you're fine.
Speaking like about this point, taking credits, I'm gonna mention two things now that I would say like 90% of the team, 99% do not care about credits. You'd see community managers announcing some kick-ass event that is coming next week with all these rewards, and people will be excited because this community manager mentioned it. But behind this announcement, as I mentioned before, there are 2-3 developers who worked on it. There's like an artist who worked on it. Yeah, so all these people know that they will not get direct credit from it. It's just like a community manager announcing the event. And another point I wanted to discuss regarding taking credibility or actually avoiding fingers being pointed at them are the game masters. So game masters, you obviously you break the rules. There's a like you get punished in whatever way. What depends on the weight of your of the thing that you've done. But a lot of times, X game master takes the action, another game master gets blamed on it, or most of the time, for example, Warhammer takes the blame. But they don't do like they don't say that no, it wasn't me, it was him, right? So they just absorb all the hate, right? And even when the person, for example, if I hacked right now and I got banned, I'm not gonna tell my whole guild that I hacked. I would come up with another story, for example. Even though game masters know what this person has done and they have evidence of him cheating, for example, they wouldn't defend themselves when they are when fingers are pointed at them that you banned this guy permanently for no reason. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention how credibility isn't the most important thing for the team, and this is like another one, another point why it's a nice team to work with.
I agree with that. That's something that I've actually said in the past. In regards to a certain game master who takes a lot of, I would say, criticism by the player base.
I think we can say names now, so we could clear things out.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll say the word Grimner. He gets a lot of, I would say, player. I don't want to say hate, but I would say negativity from the player base. People view him as the hammer, as the person that does all the things against the team or against the players. What you're saying is that's not true. It's not just him.
It's definitely not him taking all the negativity, but yeah, like at the start, I think at the first year, it was very obvious. Now things are calming down a bit. But another game master, like for example, Sirding was working, like in a short period of time. Sirding was the most active GM. Like he was taking care like 90% of the tickets. So technically, if he's the only one present, during EU and during the rush hours, and he's seeing the tickets, technically he's the one who will take actions. So every single player started saying that, yeah, like this GM, has something against me. I'm always bound by this GM. They don't take into consideration that this guy is sinking hours of his time every single day to handle tickets. If it was like a team of 10 game masters and you've done like five violations, it's gonna be banned every single time by another game master. But because it's the same person sinking most of his time to the game during EU peak hours, it's gonna always be him banning you. Of course, this is reasonable. So they started pointing fingers at him as well. And here like comes one of the roles of community managers to make sure things like we defend the teams as much as we defend the players. We just stand where it's right, like we're gonna put our weight. But yeah, like players are expected to somewhat understand how the structure is, and that the team isn't like of 20, like there's no GM department that is made of 20 people. If X GM is available 4 days per week, 6 hours per day, and he's taking care of most of the tickets, he's gonna be the one banning you every single time.
Understood, and I completely agree with you that I feel that the player base needs to take a little bit of accountability in itself to understand who the team is, who the members are, which is one reason why I'm kind of doing this. That way, players understand the role of everyone associated. Now, do you recall any time in regards to, let's say, a GM, Sayo or Wargrim or somebody else who wanted to, let's say, discipline a player, but you stepped in and said, let's hold back, let's not take that action? And if so, can you kind of give a brief description of that?
So yeah, it's not like we completely take control of the situation and we block things. Some bans were lifted with internal pressure, and this pressure isn't made of this guy is my friend, keep him unbanned. It's made of proof. So so when you have it's like a court case, right? This player gets reported. There's a screenshot. There's a video of him doing whatever he's doing. It's put in between the hands of the GMs. The GMs take actions based on this specific evidence. Now, if you can come up with counter evidence, then this would be like let's say a battle of which evidence is more reliable. We've definitely made sure that some players who were going to be perma-banned aren't perma-banned. Sometimes the rules banned not because it's in favor of individuals, but it's because it's in favor of the whole, like the greater good of the community, and because the rules sometimes are vague. Now, I'm not gonna give examples because every single example is unique. So I think people will be able to pinpoint, and I'd rather not go into these things if you're fine with it.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will give an example without giving names, but I think we will all understand what I'm talking about, and that is what some people, especially in the stream currently, have called Chicken Gate. Is that something where maybe internally internally it was reviewed and said, you know what, let's not go down that road?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. We'll go ahead and leave it there. We'll go ahead and leave that one alone.
Yeah, there was another case, and like I can say this because it's really general, with a prominent warband leader of one of the prominent guilds on the server. So technically, so if you wanna just like apply the simplest rule and ban him, you would be banning something I would call as a community manager a content creator for at least 40 people. So banning him will have a huge impact on your game. You need to review these things carefully before taking action, because he's not, whether we want to agree now or not, I'm not sure if people will agree to what I'm going to say. And it may not sound really professional, but not all players are equal in a way that you as a healer of a warband and part of a bug warband, you don't have the same weight as a warband leader of a 40-man guild, for example. This person creates content for 40 people on his side and let's say another 100 people on the opposite side, because let's be honest, in Warhammer, if you don't have enemies, you don't have entertainment. So sometimes key people, and this is not to say that some people were treated better than the others, but some people's we dig deeper, or we try to find gaps to avoid them being, let's say, permanently banned or excessively banned, because they are like part of the wheels of the community.
I believe I fully 100% understand who you're talking about. However, I will leave the names alone.
It's several people. It's several. I think I have two on my mind now. They're often, they tend to be toxic too. But yeah.
Okay. So I would agree. I think what you're saying is potentially controversial. I would agree with that statement. I think some of the player base would take be like, wait, there's favoritism happening. So you're saying that player A, just because he or she runs a guild that incorporates 20, 30, 40 or more players, and then those players also then interact with 20, 40 or 100 players on the opposite faction, just because there's content and the game is moving forward, that person might be given a little bit more leeway than, let's say, the average player. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not favorism. It's not us making sure that this individual is protected. When GMs will take action against this player, it will happen. no matter who he is and what he has done or what's his background. What I'm saying is that each case, now again, it really depends on the case. Like we cannot generalize things here, but each case, and at least the cases that we went through, they were light cases. So let's say this person would have been banned for a day, right? It's very simple. But on this day, you had I don't know, you had some huge event or or city or whatever. It's not that his ban would be revoked. It would just be looked into more carefully, and internally the CM team would start, working on finding a way to avoid the situation from happening again. So from the GMs, from the people who are there to enforce the rules, they will act based on the rules and how the rules were violated, careless of who the player is and what's his background. The only factor that changes here is the CM team getting into some sort of ban or violation to try and see how we can resolve it. And when I say that these things happened, it's 2 cases out of how many? Like, is this like I don't know, 5% of the bans or less? So it's not. We need to make sure that we don't generalize things. It's just some cases that happened where we were able to step in and help the player by showing a different perspective.
Fully understood, and I don't want you to think that I am disagreeing or arguing with you, but I do find this topic to be
it definitely is.
Yeah, I certainly find this topic itself really interesting for the player base in general. So I'm going to keep going on it a little bit, if you don't mind. I'm
Sure.
gonna give you a fake scenario. So this is a fake scenario. Are you saying, let's pretend that, okay, let's use me as an example. Let's pretend that I am a streamer, but let's say my viewer base is a consistent, let's say 200 people or 300 people in the stream for Return of Reckoning. However, I don't run, let's say, a warband, or I don't run, let's say, a large group of people, but I bring, let's say, eyes to the table. I bring exposure. Would I be, let's say, reviewed or more communication in regards to a violation that I may have done versus somebody who isn't?
Right. So here I'm gonna point 3 important factors. One, like to make sure the whole team is cleared from this controversial topic. It's again, the GMs will take the action no matter who the person is. They will just follow the terms of service. They will enforce the rule. This is like their job, and they do it perfectly. The only variety here is me. So we're talking about, like, obviously you never heard of it before because I was part of the team. So now I'm talking about what I used to do. So it might not happen now. It might not be happening now. So I don't want to again generalize. But yeah, if you're giving me this scenario where you're like a person benefiting the greater good of the project, I would step in to defend you as head of the CM team. I would start negotiating with GMs on if the sentence could be lightened, or if they have enough evidence for it, or these things. Now the GMs will take the decision anyway. It's up to them. But with a small push, things could be reviewed if they can be reviewed. So if you've hacked, there's no possible way you could be supported by anyone. If you were, I don't know, toxic, you got like a 7 days ban. I don't know, since his punishment is related to something, about chatting, let's make sure he's banned from chatting for 30 days, but let's not ban this person for 7 days, if that makes sense. Does it make sense? Like trading 7 days of in-game for like 30 days of chatting. So this is like a small scenario.
No, it does make sense. It does make sense, and I actually feel that this is actually a really interesting conversation, because I honestly did not know of something like this. And again, I'm trying to make my examples very generic, so
Yeah.
that way no individual is being looked at here. So again, I'm going to use myself as an example. Um,
So and this again, this like I used to do it. So whether this is wrong or not, whether this is perfect or terrible, this is called favorism. It's on me. Like I was the one doing these. I don't know if this is being done now. I don't think so. But this is my personal approach. If someone is beneficial for the greater good of the game, I will do my best to support them in any case.
I
As
wouldn't
long,
I
yeah.
wouldn't say it's favoritism per se. However, I would say that it kind of and if you forgive my analogy here, because I don't know how the legal system is where you live or anyone who's not in the United States, so this analogy might not make sense to some people, but it can seem to some people that maybe it's kind of like a wealthy famous person who gets accused for a crime. He's able to pay for a representation or a lawyer who gets him off, or he gets his sentence reduced, whereas a average citizen who did the same crime who can't afford a lawyer or representation would get a much harsher penalty potentially.
I would disagree on the example because the famous person doesn't have any positive impact on the community. I would give another example maybe of um I don't know. Let's say I really can't find like an example now, but these people who we try to like step in and avoid any sort of sentence or decrease their sentence, they have a direct positive impact to other players and to the game, meaning losing them on the long run will impact how players behave, how players play the game, whether the players will stay or not. So some guilds right now are based on a single person leading the guild, or maybe two people, two main warband leaders. If these people leave, maybe 40 people like the 40 people below them will not stay in the game. And this is again my personal approach. It might be right, it might not be right, but because I've worked heavily in marketing, my top priority is to make sure this wheel keeps on rolling. The greater good of the game is secured. So instead of saying like a celebrity, I would say someone with a greater positive impact on the community being held captive. So let's say it might be like a terrible example with the current president, but let's say the president of X country is being held captive and 20 other people are captive in another place. Technically, the army would go and favor this person because the greater good says that you need to secure this person so we could all, I don't know, be in a better place overall. I don't know if this is like the good example or not, but I think it delivers the point.
Okay, no, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with your choice of how to handle it. I mean, I understand the decision that you made, because if it is the greater good for the community, maybe it requires further examination or further negotiation. I guess would be a better term, maybe, because of the greater good of the community. But it's something I never knew that ever happened behind the scenes. So kind of moving along a little bit, but kind of staying on the same topic. What was or what is or when you were part of the team in regards to, let's say, again, I'm going to use myself as an example. What was the communication for a person who is a streamer who, let's say, doesn't violate any game rules per se? However, he might be a bad look for the community because of his streams. So, for example, let's say I was streaming and I am talking badly about the community, badly about the team, badly about the project. However, I don't break any, let's say, game rules per se within the game. What does that kind of look like? If you can give any insight.
Sure. So we're talking about someone um, talking poorly about the project, not being toxic to players, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we're not talking about somebody who's being toxic towards players directly. So nothing in game, no in-game violations. However, again, let's say if I'm going to use this, I'm going to use me as an example. Let's say I am streaming and I am playing the game, and I see player A in game, and on my stream I say player A is an asshole. Player A needs to die. He needs to leave the server, which in turn could be viewed as being toxic towards that player through my stream. But I say nothing in game. I send no in game messages. I say
Yeah.
nothing in Discord. What does that look like?
So here again, like there are two topics. If you're being and both of them, like, this is my respective opinion, and this is what I used to push internally. Again, it might be right, it might not be right. It's just my opinion. If you're being completely toxic towards the server and you're promoting, again, by server I mean the team, the whole structure of the server, the game itself. You would have like some titles asking people to leave, or I don't know, promote another server, hope that another server comes and crushes this one. So again, for me, I look at the greater good over the long run. I would try to approach you and see how we can solve this, and then we would try to somewhat like try to bother you in a way that, for example, if there's a Twitch drops, I wouldn't include you. Now, this is someone being aggressive towards the project and the game itself, which you're basically having a platform here to spread your hate over the game and ask people to leave. Now, if you're a streamer and you're just playing the game and you're vocally toxic on your stream, but you're not typing anything in game, and this really comes down to like every person having their own opinion. For me, if someone is toxic on the stream 24/7 against me, he teabags me, I don't really care. Worst thing I can do is not watch his stream, leave, report him on Twitch. But if you're gonna take action to what people do on Twitch and on their own streams, it's like you reporting a TV channel because it doesn't follow like your political line. Like, you could just change channels, watch something else. You could report this channel to the proper entity. You could block it. You could do a lot of things, but you don't have to just go there and watch it and then, feel or listen to the toxicity. Now, I believe we all know like the person we're talking about, and people still join their stream out of curiosity to see what they're talking about. Maybe this is the fuel that is pushing this person to keep being toxic, and being toxic in online games is normal. Whether again this is right or wrong, it's definitely wrong, but it's completely normal in online games for people to be toxic, and honestly, in other games, it's much worse. So yeah, my whole approach is that topic A, which was against the project, yes, I believe something should be done about it in a diplomatic way, as long as both sides are mature about it. Topic B, I don't think anything should be done about it because it's directly related to the person not watching or boycotting the channel. You have the power to not give the streamer ad revenue, or not give the streamer enough viewers or followers, but you still want to go there and watch it and then complain about it. So it's an individual issue.
Well, okay. Well, so first of all, to be clear, I'm actually not talking about any individual streamer. I'm not. I know who you're talking or who you're insinuating. That's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm actually honestly talking more about myself, if I'm being 100% honest. Only because, I am very, let's say, vocal on my streams in regards to how I feel that the player base plays the game, about certain changes that are made, and things along those lines. So it was actually more, to be honest, more about myself here. I'm being selfish in that question because I've been doing this. I've been part of the server since 2018, and I've been a streamer on the server, or if you want to call it content creator, on some level, which I don't think that term is really real, but since I want to say 2019 or late 2018 as well. So it's one of those things where I know in the terms of service there is a rule that says that, third party applications, Discord, Twitch, things along those lines, those are kind of a umbrella aspect of violations that could happen. But I've never really seen, like, I've never been approached. You never approached me. I will 100% come out and say you've never approached me. I've never been contacted by anybody. Well, I shouldn't say never. But I've never been disciplined. So is that something where, because it wasn't done in game, it's kind of viewed like, well, maybe he won't get support by the viewers and we'll just let him go away?
So this is mainly from a perspective that when I was part of the team, the whole community management in all of its members, we were all aligned that taking action in the game is restricted to taking action in the game with proof of, something happening in the game. With the exception of people being harassed or, violated out of the game through, I don't know, like Discord,
Facebook,
DMs.
Discord, Facebook,
Exactly.
whatever.
So let's say now you were being harassed by someone. You do your job, you block him, right? Then he creates another account, then he harasses you again. So let's say he's done it like 5 times. He has no life, right? But you just send these screenshots, you send them to the GM. The GM will take action. But if you're being vocal here about things you don't like in the game because your intention is to make the game better, then this is perfectly fine. And I'm sure people flame other people in their own discords. And for all of the time that I've been on the team, the approach was to never shake the ground where the players believe they are safe on their own Discord channels, because we always used to say that the moment you shake this ground below the players, they stop feeling comfortable in their own Discords. We will not get any critical feedback. We will not get any transparent feedback. We will never be able to understand the players properly if they have to do all the chats in their hidden channels. Which is why even if you're being toxic against someone on, for example, a guild Discord is flaming one single person the whole year, right? It happens. It's already being done. It's fine. Like, this person doesn't have to read. If the person goes to this guild who is like probably rivals in the game, if they go to this guild and they want to be there, then it's your own problem. But it's the guild's own Discord. It's the people. It's this small group of people. They created this channel. They want to talk whatever shit they want to talk about on their own Discord. So we would never. Again, this is like back when I was part of the team. We would never approach these things and punish people for what they say in their own private Discords, because this would change the whole structure of how we get feedback and how players trust the team.
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, it's something that I've always been kind of curious about, and I mean, there was one incident on my channel. I'm not really going to bring it up directly, but I'm sure you and some of my viewers will know what I'm talking about, where I got in trouble through Twitch directly, and I know that it kind of came up as a game issue, but I was never contacted by anybody in the game itself. So I kind of wanted to get a little bit of insight on what that looked like. So appreciate your answers. I do appreciate you being honest about it. We will move on to the next question, and that is, what did you want to do in the form of the part of the project? What did you want to do on the project that you just never were able to do it? You were never able to work on it. Is there any examples?
No, I'm pretty sure we have had a lot of projects in line to be done, but they would either be limited by our manpower or by our capabilities, technical capabilities. Now, on top of my mind, like I don't remember something precisely, but the whole team in general would have definitely created more things. Like I think one of them, like quickly, like the dueling arena would have been totally different way in terms of how smooth the duels are, and what types of events we can do in this arena. I think this was like one small project that we wanted to work on, but it would take a lot of time. And since we have limited resources, any time you could save for the most important parts of the game, you would do that. You would save them and make sure developers and their manpower are being used effectively, efficiently.
Okay, so there's really nothing you can really think of. And I wish I would have done this or worked on this or got this completed before I left. You were happy with everything you did.
I mean, it's not like I'm happy with everything I did. I think we've done enough with, based on our capabilities. Because let's be honest now, if we wanna do anything, for example, if you wanna work on a really smooth feedback system, based on in-game, like the way you get now the in-game survey, but a smoother one where for example, it's 24/7 accessible, with the proper way to filter the feedback and get anything you want to do without spending like a whole week. We would basically have done it, but I'm pretty sure that everything we used to think of before, it needed developer time, which means that it wasn't on top of the list of the things to do.
Okay, no, I understand, and I completely understand what you're saying there, and I agree with there are technical limitations, so you kind of just work on what you can work on, and you focus on what you can focus on, and you move on from that. I think that's what you're saying effectively. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Um, from a opinion from you, of course, if something was, let's say, in your power to change, if you were able to just, Thanos, snap your fingers and make a change, just you and you alone, um, what would that change be?
In terms of like what structure,
No,
team.
in terms of anything in the game, from a player point of view, from a GM point of view, from what is the one thing that if you had the power to just say, I want to change this, and you could just do it, what would that be?
Well, like I'm not sure if this applies, but like hopefully the most important thing in the game is the whole campaign. What we always face is that whenever we implement something, there's always like part of the community that likes it, part of the community that doesn't like it. I just hope like one day they will be able to achieve like something that most of the community will really like a really sustainable campaign that is in favor of everyone. Um, I think another thing would be the annoying lag of the game, which we don't have control of right now. Like all the stutters and the frame freezes, these things. Because a lot of people come from other games, they really like this game, but obviously it's like you're playing on a really, really old computer. You would just like leave the game rather than having anger issues every single time you want to play it. Now, in terms of the structure of the team, it's not like I would change anything really. Like I wouldn't do like any huge changes. I would just make sure there's like right now there's some sort of like council approach to the team. I would rather have one person top of the pyramid. Then all the teams are properly divided. All the teams are properly pending recruitment. Trainings are done to the staff members who have to engage with the community staff members who don't have to engage with the community shouldn't. A proper restriction to who you can be with, who you can play with, who you can interact with as a staff member. Because let's be honest, like now, if you're part of the team, you have to have some restrictions. You can't just say whatever you want in the game. You can join any Discord and just say whatever you want. You can't be with you can't play with someone who's been, I don't know, who's been banned for something really grave. So I think there are a lot of things I would change in the limitations and restrictions of the team. I would make sure that the whole team understand that they wouldn't exist without the community. It's vice versa, but I think the team should be the more mature people that should understand that they wouldn't be there without the players. And based on that, I think a lot of things could improve.
Okay, kind of going down that road. You actually brought something up that I wanted to discuss as well, and you kind of brought it up yourself. What is your opinion of someone who's part of the team who also joins, let's say, a guild from the player base, and they have what appears to be, a friendship? Is that something that should be allowed or not allowed, in your opinion?
I think I don't think it's only about my opinion. It's now based on the fact that this is a small server. I think staff members should be able to play with other people, depending on these people, like who they are. I'm not just saying like depending on who they are, like how they, like what's their type of gameplay. No, it's based on their background. Now you can be a game master who plays with someone who is extremely toxic, because even though you could be like the purest game master with the purest intentions and no bad background, no favorism, but whatever happens to this player, whatever unban he gets, they will link you both together. And I think this is being done to one of the team's developers. Whatever happens, they will link these two together. So I think players, staff members should be able to play normally, because at the end of the day, they want to enjoy the game. Otherwise, I don't think they would spend that much time on the game. But every single person should be aware of what they're getting themselves into, and they should be mature enough to distance themselves from specific people.
Okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying there, and I'm gonna delve into this a little bit more. Again, I'm gonna use me as an example. So if I wanted to, let's say, play with you, and you wanted to play the game, and I am streaming the game, and I have you, let's say, join my guild. You do all these things. You join my guild. We just play together. However, you have some sort of perceived influence that maybe I'm given, some sort of privilege that I'm given because of you. Is that something that you think should be strictly watched and taken care of behind the scenes, or is that something that should just be done and not really worried about?
Like the favorism is confirmed, or it's just like
No,
rumor?
it's just perceived favorism. So there's no proof, there's nothing actually being done, but there's perceived favoritism. I play with Gamesbond. I play with Gamesbond every day. Gamesbond is the head community manager, but he's in my guild. We do all these things together. And I'm also a streamer, and I'm able to do what I do because I know him. That's perception. I'm not saying there's no violations being done. Is there some sort of rule, or do you think there should be a rule that doesn't allow you to interact with me?
So again, like as I mentioned before, I think staff should be able to play with anyone they want to play with. as long as there's like restrictions to who they are, to who the other players are, what they do, their behavior, their background. So I'm gonna take myself as example. I think I stayed guildless for a year and a half, and then I joined I joined a raiding guild. Okay, you know, we always go on warbands, and whenever they do like something like teabagging, which is something normal for MMOs, it's fine. I wouldn't do the activity, right? So this is me knowing that right now, even though I'm a player, I'm enjoying my time. People perceive me as a player. But if I do the same action that other players are doing it, I will have like things will backfire on the team. Like it's not only about myself. It's the team. You know, that the team will, because whether we like it or not, I represent the team. XGM represents the team. A developer represents the team. Everybody who is part of the team will represent it, because when something happens, the whole team will be in this mess. It's not only this individual. Yeah, so if there's like a rumor that these people are, I don't know, there's favorism or whatever, I think it could be addressed in the way the staff member behaves inside the guild, on the voice chat, everywhere. They should be like, staff members should be like, they should take care of their actions, no matter with who they play with and where they are speaking or what channel they are using. So to answer everything like in one single sentence, it comes down to how responsible is the staff member and how mature he is in a way that he balances his role on the team and his player side, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense.
Yes.
And again, I want to make it clear to the viewers and also to Gamesbond, I am not talking about any certain individual. I am not. I promise you, I'm not talking about any one person. These are just questions that I actually wanted to know. You know, being a long-term player, also being a small streamer on Twitch. These are all things that I've always tried to keep myself separated in game from people that I know that are a part of the team directly. So there are people that I know that are part of the community management team who I interact with on stream. I might interact with in game, but I don't really play with them in game too much because I don't want any type of perceived conflicts, either for them or for me. So I kind of keep myself away from that aspect of it, just because I don't want problems for them or for me. So that's why that's why I've asked that question.
And to add to this specific topic, I've played with like, again, when I'm playing, for example, when I used to play in a warband, I wouldn't be acting as a staff member, so I would leave and the people who played with me know that the Gamesbond they're playing with is a player. So whatever they say, something toxic, whatever they discuss about the team, about the game, this is their private channel. Like, I'm a guest on the guild channel, and I'm a player there. Now, if someone is hacking, the players would report him anyway. So it's not like me not doing anything, but it's just like from a perspective of how free people want to be on their own Discord channels. Like, I used to guarantee that whenever I'm playing, everything is respectful to each Discord server. They have the free will to do whatever they want. But if they get reported, like, it's not like they get anything back. Another point is that I used to I used to go in a warband with a warband leader, and on a separate day, I was flying over the zone, and we started getting a lot of messages on global chat that this person is using the RAM not in the right way. So he's not sieging it, he's just like walking around with it. So I asked a GM to warn this person. So it's not like if we play with X people, then we protect them or we turn a blind eye. We just separate our roles, and we make sure like everything is fair. So the same person I played with on one day, if he's done something bad on the other day or something that violates the terms of service, I would be the first one to, to ping him, to warn him, or to ask a GM to handle the situation.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate that. I remember interacting.
I'm not gonna lie, these questions are really hard, by the way.
Are they hard?
Yeah, and like in a good way that it gives like a inside information for all the people to know of, but yeah, like they're heavy.
Well, if you want me to tone it down, I certainly will. But if
No, it's fine.
Okay, okay. Well, the questions I'm currently asking are things that I've always wondered myself. So I'm kind of just asking from the top of my head as we're talking here. So if I take it too far, just go ahead and say let's move on, and I'll be 100% okay with that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like there's nothing too far. I'm just like giving you credits for these great questions.
Okay, okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm gonna expand on this topic one last time, if you don't mind, because I find it very interesting. I mean, I've interacted with you in game in the past, off and on. I mean, of course, I saw you in game. You know, we would say hello or wave at each other or things along those lines. I don't think you and I ever formally ever played together. We might have done, like a Pug SC together or something like that. Maybe I don't quite recall. How do you separate yourself from the role of being a team member and being a player? Like on a personal level, how are you able to say, you know what, I just want to play the game, I just want to relax, I don't want to worry about rule violations, I just want to play? So did you ever find yourself just saying, you know what, they're breaking the rules, I know it, but I just don't want to deal with it right now. I just want to play. Did that ever happen?
So for all GMs and some like a few team members, you could toggle like your availability on the .gm command. Now people of course could still see GMs. Like I'm gonna include GMs in this because they are actually more impacted than myself. Now people can see GMs, but it's not like GMs will just turn a blind eye again when something happens. But it also like we need to respect their time. Like if the guy has been working for like 6 hours as a GM, let's give him 2 hours so he could play and enjoy, the siege. I'm pretty sure everything could wait, and I'm pretty sure that the GMs will be able to properly wait or actually decide if something could wait 2 hours until they're done playing, or it should be done immediately. I'm pretty sure if someone is hacking, they will just leave whatever they're doing and go handle it. But if there's like I don't know, there's something stuck and it needs 30 minutes to respawn or to refresh, maybe they wouldn't do it. Now personally, I think I used to just like try to handle things on the go, if it's doable. If it's not, then usually we would wait, for a short period of time. This is how we use this. Like this is how I think everyone splits their player time from their staff time. But the prominent role will be always the staff. Doesn't matter if you toggle the GM on or off. Most of your time will be as a staff, because the game and the community requires it.
Okay. I mean,
did I answer it?
No, you answered it perfectly fine. I appreciate it,
Okay.
and I will get you off the hot seat, and we will change topics. By the way,
Great.
how much time do you have left? I don't want to take up your whole day. So what does your time outlook look like?
No, you don't have to worry. It's fine. It's like I need to go do some shopping, but it's late at night, so it's fine.
Are you sure? Because I normally stream for about 9 hours a day, and we've only in this for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like 9 hours, but like I have, like I think the time will be worth it.
I'm joking, but thank you. I appreciate it. If you need to cut it short, if you need to end it, please just let me know. So
Okay.
we're gonna move on to a different topic, a little bit later topic, I think, and that is, so while you were part of the team, and I'm just gonna use the word team in general. So I know you were a community manager, but I'm just gonna use the word team, because you did more than just community manager aspect of it. Can you share anything that happened behind the scenes, that was, out of the purview of the players, that you found to be funny, or any like funny story or anything, that was, you just found to be hilarious?
You mean like something that would negatively impact the
No,
community and
no, no,
the...
no, 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 nothing negative. Just, something was being done behind the scenes. Let's say, a GM wanted to implement something, or something happened. Just a funny experience behind the scenes. A patch came out, and it, a mistake happened, or anything that's funny. Anything that's funny at all that no one knows about. Do you have any? Do you have any?
Like honestly, on top of my mind, no, honestly. But I'm pretty sure, like if I knew about this question beforehand, I'm pretty sure like I would have probably tried to remember something, because like a lot of things happen here and there. Like after a patch, especially, like I know all of the players know this. After a patch, some funny things happen with the with bugs. Um, but yeah, like something really specific now on top of my mind, I can't think of anything.
Well, I guess I should have had you review the questions beforehand. Then I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's just like maybe this question precisely, yeah. So because like I didn't want the answer to be disappointing, but yeah, like I honestly can't remember anything.
Okay, no.
Like it's really like 10 months ago, like the last time or like I think 8, 9, I can't remember
Okay,
when I engaged properly with the game.
okay, no, I appreciate it. I just wanted to, it was a question somebody asked, so I figured I would ask it. Now, kind of moving on again, and that is, you being part of the team, as you mentioned, this is a volunteer role. So people have normal jobs, they have families, they have careers outside of the project. How did you balance your personal life and the project life? What how did you balance that?
So it comes down to the fact that um, I was enjoying the game and my time on the team. So if you're doing something that you're enjoying, like if my main game right now, I think all the gamers right now agree that you have your main game where you spend most of the time with, and then you have like some alternative games where you visit here and there. Maybe like when there's an update, you just play another game. But since Warhammer was my main game for a good amount of time, and because my work in the like on the team was entertaining, discussing things with people from both sides and trying to align a lot of things. Like I believe all these things are entertaining for me. Like when you like something you're doing, I think this is a good example. Like in your job, if you like your job, it doesn't feel like you're going to work every day. Like I don't mean to be like that deep, but this is actually what happened. I was enjoying my time on the team and in the game, so it didn't feel like a burden.
Well, how much of your time, how much of your personal time do you estimate you spent working on the project, not as a player, but working on the project? So, you'd come home from work, working your, well, in America we call, your 9 to 5 job. I don't know what, that's just kind of a slang term for, you do your 8 or 9 hours and then you come home. So
Yeah.
so how much of your time did you spend working on the project after you came home from work? Would you guess?
I mean, it really depends on what's happening. But yeah. So for me, on a personal level, because again, I really liked what I was doing, and being there in the game for the community, being on Discord here and there, Twitch. So I used to log in as player and handle things, you know, throughout the night. So it wasn't really like a separate all right, like I came back from work, I have these 2 hours to handle things and then start playing. It was always like continuous and like at the same time, playing the game and handling things. Now, for example, I think like I might not be completely right, but I think GMs like would log in, handle all the tickets at once, maybe, and then start playing, or the opposite. But because TM team wouldn't handle in-game tickets, they would just handle things as they pop. It's much different than other developers, than other team members, because also developers, they know what they have to work on, so they come from work, they do XYZ, and they start playing. So let's say like if I was playing between 2 to 4 hours per day, sometimes 6 hours. It really depends. Now, when there would be like a specific Twitch Drops event, or like a huge event, in-game event, we would be like most of the GMs and community managers would be present for a longer period of time. On the first and second Twitch Drops, I used to stay till like 3, 4 a.m. In my time, to make sure everything's is fine on the Twitch Drops. When I think we did this huge fight for the anniversary, for the city launch, I think we all stayed really late. So to answer your question, there's no specific time. It really depends on what you have to do, what you already like planned on doing, how did you organize your time, and again, you log in as a player, you see how things are, and you work your stuff throughout the night.
Okay, so it all kind of depended on what was happening in game and also things along those lines. You really had
Yeah, exactly.
you really had no set schedule. If you came home from work and you just wanted to log in and play, you would handle things as you could, but you didn't really have, like, let's say, a work schedule per se. So you're not told to be, hey, you have to be in game from, let's say, 2 to 5 p.m. on Monday and Friday to handle these issues. That's not how it works.
Uh, no, because like to start with the structure of the CM. So when I was building the CM team, I made sure that there are, I think, 2 CMs per time zone. So optimally, we wanted to have 2 CMs for North America, 2 CMs for Europe, and I think one for the for Australia. Now, obviously, it didn't go this way because of the, it depends on the recruitment and how much people are interested. But yeah, like this helps to avoid any precise hours of someone being available from X hour to Y hour, because there would always be availability from the CM team. In terms of like what needs to be done and, pre-scheduled work, it depends. So if there's something coming next, for example, we're working on some specific event, we're working together in the team, yeah, there are like soft deadlines, if that makes sense. If the developers need, for example, 2 days to implement this event, we would make sure that we deliver everything they need beforehand. So the process could be smooth. But other than that, like other than events that are time sensitive, there wouldn't be like precise schedule for every person to be present on.
Okay, so unless it was like a really big, let's say, event or really big change in the server, for example, like when Cities was launched originally back in 2020, there really isn't an expectation of please be in game to handle any unknown issues.
Yeah, so we would so reasonably after any patch, like during the patch day, we would kindly ask developers to be present as much as possible, so that fixing bugs doesn't take like 6 hours until they come back from what they're doing. But obviously, it depends on the person's availability, because your real life will always come first, because it's a volunteer project. For example, when it came down to the to the launch of the cities, yeah, we made sure we have enough community managers and game masters available to control the situation, because it was like hundreds and hundreds of players on the same map. There were also like developers ready in case something needs to be adjusted. We had like some staff members have in-game commands to to run the event. Yeah, so yeah, we would take precautions when patch day comes and when these huge events are scheduled, to make sure the player gets the smoothest possible experience.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, and that's exactly how I expected it to be. I mean, I remember, again, like when Cities first came out, I remember there was an issue. It wasn't right when Cities came out, but I remember there was an issue where a city popped or it was triggered, and all of a sudden, I think we had like 300 or 400 instances, maybe more, and you had like people in like their own city by themselves. We had like full cities of like one or two people, and we had hundreds and hundreds of city instances. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
That's to me that's a funny memory. Now, kind of again, we're gonna change the topic here a little bit. The player base, and I'm gonna include myself here, goes on to the forums or Discord or whatever outlet they have, may that be Twitch or Facebook, and they do a lot of requests of the team. Please change this, do this. Why hasn't this been done? Things along those lines. From a person that's from the team internal, what would you like to see the player base do, if anything? Do you have any requests from the player base? So instead of the player base requesting or demanding certain changes, do you have a request from internally to the player base themselves?
Yeah, like I would request that first of all they should, like, everyone should understand that the development team is like they always have to account for their internal capabilities. So if they're working on something huge, like I think now they are working on the ability system. This ability system will be like a gate that will make a lot of things possible and easier in the future. So I know a lot of people, like it was even mentioned before that I left, a lot of people are upset that developers could be focusing on this one thing alone, or a lot of time is being wasted on this thing. But how the team perceives time investment is on the long run. It's not like for the next 2 months, because things will be better as we move forward and as the team finds more tools and better tools to create and adjust game related stuff. When it comes down to asking players what to do on the forums and these things, I would just advise that, and again, like we're being completely honest here, if you're asking something and you're saying that this is the way that it would resolve X topic, like rest assured that like you're not 100% sure. A lot of people will have opposite solutions. A lot of people will find your own solution bad, or it cannot be properly implemented. The way we like, or I personally notice some like how some people engage on the forums, is that their way is the solution, which isn't the case. And I'm not saying that the team has the proper solution always. Like everybody does mistakes, even huge corporates. They also huge gaming developers. They also like do mistakes. But what I'm simply saying is that for the development team checking a specific thread for feedback, for example, they would get 20 different solutions. Each solution claims that this is the proper way to handle things, but what people like most of the times is is a longer vision or a widened vision of their own solution. How does it impact other players? How does it impact other classes, the opposite faction? Does it impact the NA population or not? These things. So all in all, people should be more considerate of what they ask for, and they need to understand that what they ask for could be taken into consideration, but it doesn't have to be forcefully implemented.
What type of or not what type of, that's a wrong question here. I know the team introduced in-game feedback, questionnaire surveys in game. Do you feel that was well received, and if so, what type of impact does that have in the direction of the game when you were part of the team?
Which impact? Could you repeat the first part of the question?
I think it was during your time where in-game surveys were released. Hey, this event came out. What was you see a box pop up on your screen? What type of impact did that have on the team? Was that well received, do you think, and was it a successful project in that regard? And if so, what impact does that make on future changes?
So the introduction of surveys or the more frequent surveys have two objectives. One of them internally to let every single person on the team know that you're gonna implement something that could drastically change the way people play. It will be surveyed and your work will be judged. It's not to like threaten people's work or it's just to hold everyone sort of accountable. Because now without like accountability, it doesn't matter if it's like a volunteer project or it's like I don't know, like a like non-profit organization or anything. You need to be accountable. Like people inside any sort of group or community or organization need to be accountable. Otherwise, things cannot be controlled. So this was the first part of it, to internally make sure that we are all aware that our decisions will be judged by the community. And the second the second part of your question is that it helped us like understand the split between. So if now we introduce something and we got the data, it helped us to understand the weight of every change. If it was overwhelmingly positive or negative, if people had specific questions. And I would say the most important part of the survey was the one where you would fill your own comment or feedback, because usually people would share good ideas there. Now, one thing everyone should know about surveys is that you could do them and you could get the data, but it's how you analyze the data that matters. Because now, if you do something and 50% of the community agrees, 50% doesn't agree, I could say that 50% agreed, let's move forward. Someone else could say that since 50% didn't agree, let's keep it safe. So I think all in all, it had a positive impact, and I believe the goal, for me at least, was to make sure that the impact is more internally than to the game. Like the mindset of the team at some point needed to change from you are, and this is something I really hated, by the way, in the team when I joined. You are a tester, we implement things, you like it, perfect, you don't like it, you can leave. This is the worst thing for me, when I joined, which changed. Now the mentality of the team changed, for the better. So again, these surveys, the feedbacks that we used to have from CM team, we used to jump on different guild discords. We used to talk to people when we're with them on voice chat. So we used to compile data from different sources. We created focus groups, which we can talk about later. So all these things created a new mindset for the team that feedback from players is really important, because this is how good I did or how bad I did in my work. I've done in my work.
Do you recall any changes that, I mean, do you recall any time where a survey was released and you assumed that the player base was going to go in one direction, but you were surprised that the majority of the player base went a different direction with the survey? And if so, was the future plans then changed because of that survey?
So I think the one survey which didn't align with our expectations was one that was equally split between people who want this change or don't want this change. I honestly forgot what change it was, but I remember it because I didn't make it public. So the survey didn't go public because back then I knew that people could analyze it in two ways, and it would just create chaos. It doesn't mean that we didn't take it into consideration internally, because we did, and some minor changes were done. But again, when you have 50 chance 50 chance of something, people like something, like half of the community likes it, half doesn't like it, but the half who don't like it, they don't write why they didn't like it, or they didn't say anything constructive about it in their own feedback. So these things, like you need to again, as I mentioned before, you need to analyze the survey properly, that rather than just see numbers and just move forward with whatever numbers. So yeah, I do recall that there was one survey that didn't perfectly align with our expectations, but it wasn't a huge. It wasn't like a one-sided survey. The results weren't like one-sided. We've done some internal adjustments to whatever was implemented back then, but the survey wasn't made public for the greater interest.
What do you mean for the great interest? Why wasn't it made public? Why wasn't the results released, if I may ask?
Because, as I mentioned, sharing something that would perfectly split the community onto two war fronts isn't what we needed. Back then, we just needed to understand the behavior of the players. We needed to understand how players perceived this update. And we took this data and we took action internally. But sharing everything isn't like the healthiest way. It's like based on my experience with this specific community and the way things get treated by the community. It's better to hold some things internally, take action internally, fix it internally, rather than make things public.
Okay. In regards to the surveys themselves, and maybe you don't want to answer this, and that's okay. Do you see the names of the responders, or do you not see the names of who's responding, or is it 100%? You just get an answer, but you don't know who answered it.
So when it comes down to the percentages, to the percentage, yeah, I agree, like disagree, agree, neutral, these things. We don't have the person's name or the player's name. When they create a feedback post, when they proceed with their feedback and write something, we would know the character name. But this doesn't matter, because the moment we started launching surveys, when I joined, and later on we worked on surveys, we aligned internally that nobody is allowed to check the survey results besides community managers and Max. Doesn't matter what people say, no action will be taken from the survey results. So players are always protected when it comes down to surveys.
Okay, so there's no perceived of I'm going down again a kind of a controversial road here. So there is no perceived by the player base of, hey, player A has been on the server for a long time. Player A is a trusted member. We're going to use players A's opinion more than, let's say, player B. That did not ever happen, is what you're saying.
No, not really. I mean, if feedback is a good feedback, it's a good feedback. It doesn't matter who mentioned it. When we take feedback, we don't really read the name. I'm just saying that the names are present. The way we do things internally is that if I found like this is a constructive criticism of this specific implementation, we would copy it, we would put it on our sheet, and we would send it. We don't put names. I'm just saying that community managers are able to read the names when people fill the feedback form where it says like you can add your own comments. But this is never shared with the other team members. So there's like confidentiality between community managers who will protect the player base, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I didn't know on a personal level if you saw the names of the responders of the survey, and then if there was any extra weight given to that responder versus somebody else who maybe isn't as respected as things like those. Okay, fair enough.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that. Whatever happened to, or did the Return of Reckoning focus groups or the Return of Reckoning champion program, whatever happened to that program? It seems like it was launched, from my point of view, it seems like it was launched and then kind of forgotten or kind of then dismissed. What happened to that program?
I think the champions program aged well to become the focus groups, but with another approach. So the way things were before is that the staff would, like, basically all the staff would handpick specific people. Like each staff actually would take some names from a list, and the people with more votes, they would join this champion thing. The difference is that with the focus group, it's more restricted between community managers and the focus group, like people on the focus group. Then we added developers to these focus groups in order to make sure that communication is really smooth. Like whatever, like if you're gonna talk about this topic is handled pretty well, straightforward, directly on Discord. They could jump instantly whenever they want on voice chat. This wasn't the case with the Realm Champion thing, because discussion should go on the forum. So you had you had to go through the hassle of writing a whole post, then reading someone else's post. So this is the technical perspective of the focus group. Then on the focus group, we started splitting them by game mode. So you had like ranked, you had open world, you had PvE, and I think you had also events or something. So the point of these, the way we split them is to make sure the right people from the community, the active people, have a voice in the focus group. Now, the controversial point about the focus group is that it doesn't give every single player on on the server a voice inside this focus group. But the focus group isn't there to take decisions. It's there to give straightforward advices from experienced people who actually do the activity that they're assigned on the focus group. I'm not sure if I lost you now or not, but
No. Keep
still
going.
okay. So one of the prominent groups is for example, the open world, the PvP one. In this group, we added most, if not all, of the active warband leaders. So you had casual warband leaders, you had hardcore warband leaders, you had new guilds who formed, you had pug guilds. So you really had opinions from different warband leaders. And technically, the warband leader and the guild leader, they know the best they know what's best for their own guild and for their own community, the people they play with. So the focus group here created sort of a centered feedback from experienced people based on their own gameplay. And in this gameplay, it depends how people play. So having an opinion, if you play if you're a pug warband leader, you play in a way. If you're a hardcore guild warband leader, you play in another way. So these opinions started to clash in a centered, well-focused Discord, which allowed us to have organized communication between different people. This communication could definitely go on the forum. The difference is that between each of these people, they would have like 7 or 10 other people who joined the game recently or who have been playing for 4 years, but they mainly play PvE or ranked. So to sum up, the focus group added the people who played in this specific field to make sure that we get feedback from the people who will be impacted by this change. And again, focus group doesn't take decisions. They are just like one of the most reliable sources of advices to developers and community managers, and it's moderated by the CM team. And developers are there just to have a chat when it's needed. What else? It's definitely not perfect. There's no way you could get the perfect feedback unless you talk to every single person. And this is not possible in any game. In any business and any whenever they want to launch like a specific product, or in most of the online games, they have focus groups where they invite a specific list of people to do these things. So we didn't create anything out of this world. We just adopted something that is being used in other games and corporates to make sure that we try and achieve the closest perfection level of feedback. I believe one of the downsides, even though it's fair, but it's one of the downsides. So you definitely have let's say 7 organized warband guilds, right? And you might have 3 pug warband guilds. The 7 warband guilds who are organized and prefer more competitiveness on the field will have a stronger opinion, if that makes sense, because there are 7 sharing. Maybe the 7 will align on one thing, 3 others will not align on it. But it also reflects the community's presence in the game. So so I think the focus groups were fine. They just needed a lot of work from our side. They need a lot of maintenance, if that's good to say.
No, it's good to say. How did you distinguish though, in regards to the focus groups of, let's say a large guild or a large prominent warband leader who says that change A has to happen for the betterment of the server or for the betterment of the game. However, maybe what they're really looking for is more of an aspect that helps them more than the server itself. How did you distinguish that?
Yeah, so
More of a selfish opinion instead of a server wide better opinion.
it's a good question, and we can pinpoint these things when. So it depends on how the others agree with them or not. So keeping the main point that focus groups do not take decisions, they help create this centralized feedback space for developers and community managers. So if I'm pushing my own agenda and the other 8 or 9 people do not agree with me, then the idea isn't good by itself. This is one point. The second point, because it's monitored by the CM team, the moment they join, so there was like a precise guideline and rules for the focus group, and they are always advised not to push their own agenda, because in the focus group we were clear enough, or at least like I was clear enough to say that you are here to give proper feedback. If you wanna, it's not your space to highlight that we're, I don't know, this public quest isn't activating, or it's hard for me now. It's not your space to say like, hey, I got muted for 1 hour, and it's not definitely your place to push your own agenda. So we were clear enough to say that if you're not here for proper feedback, you will be removed. If you want to make sure that your way of playing the game and somewhat, and with regards to the PvP, World PvP focus group, if you want to make sure that your guild has a voice in this focus group, then you need to make sure that your feedback is quality feedback. It ensures the greater good of the community. And when I say like your guild has a presence in the focus group, I mean it in a way that at some point I think we had 22 warband leaders. If you do like the math of how many active warbands, of how many active RVR guilds, it would cover like almost like a good part of the server, in terms of population of the guilds and how many members they have. So indeed, like if you're part of a guild that used to frequently do warbands, open world PvP, your leader at some point was probably in this focus group giving feedback based on the way your guild plays. So it covered almost a lot of the ways people preferred, or it covered a lot of voices. And again, like you can never achieve 100% good feedback. There's always like you can never reach 100% good feedback, the ultimate feedback. This is the way to go. It's always, we try to achieve like the better way.
Okay, so in regards to in regards to the feedback, and I'm gonna go down. This is a selfish question, so I'm gonna be honest. This is a selfish question.
Yeah.
How come players like myself, and when I say that, I mean solo-minded players like myself, I don't recall ever being invited to these types of things. Is it because the playstyle of myself and others is regarded as the wrong way to play and we don't want their opinions, or is there a different reason?
So I think like the answer isn't the question, because you're an individual. You have your own way of playing. Maybe you like camping. I don't know, some sort of like some door, some camp. If you're a witch hunter, you would like to stay invisible for like I don't know, like indefinitely back when it was possible, and then kill people wandering. There's no possible way to really cover what the majority of solo players on the battlefield would want. And the moment we would, so let's say you were able to gather all the solo players and pick one person to represent you in the focus group, because the point of focus group is to not have a huge quantity of people, otherwise like doesn't make sense. Like whenever, like if you have like a population, let's say of 1,000, your focus group could be like I don't know, let's say 100. Like there's no specific number, but it doesn't make sense to have like a huge number of people, because a lot of requirements are set for someone to join the focus group. So anyway, back to the question. Let's say all the solo players agreed to name this person and represent them in the focus group. You would be vastly outnumbered, because your way of playing the game on the battlefield is really niche. This is like why we wouldn't invite solo to World PvP focus group.
So you're saying we're a hated group of people? That's what you're saying? We're hated? No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
No. My voice started to crack.
I'm kidding. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing. Okay, so let's. I appreciate the answer. I'm going to move on. So let me here. I'm just kind of reading the questions here real quick. This is a question that somebody has for you personally. So this is going to be a personal question, not really game related. So how did the year 2022 go for you? And we were told, or we were told either directly or indirectly, I don't 100% remember, that you were leaving the team and you were moving. How did that whole process go for you? I mean, how is your life now on a personal level? Are you doing well? Are you happier? What are you doing these days?
I mean, yeah, like in mid 2022, I moved to Dubai, and yeah, it's like it's definitely like it's more work, because like I'm closer to the company I work with. I work in digital marketing, so it's really part of the like it was the best move for me to join where everything is centralized in the region here, which is in Dubai. Yeah, so for me, like I set goals for myself, and it was part of my goals to relocate. Obviously, also because like I used to live in Lebanon, and Lebanon is in like a crisis situation now, so like I had to move at some point, and like everything's like it's really good for now.
It's awesome to hear.
Yeah, except the weather, but everything's fine.
You don't like the weather?
The weather and like now it's fine, but when summer is here, you could like cook an egg on the street.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, I'm from. I mean, not from, but I used to live. I don't know how well you know the United States. And again, this is more of a personal conversation. But I used to live in a state called Arizona, which is it bordered the country of Mexico and the state of California. And it's a very desert state, very hot, one of the warmer states in the United States. So I completely understand what you're talking about there. We would actually
Yeah.
we would actually have car tires melt on the side of the road during the summertime if you left them outside. They would actually melt to the road. So if you were able to, again on a personal side, if you were able to, let's say, move or do something else and come back to the project, would you want to?
If I was able to move, what would you mean?
No, if you know, if on a personal level, let's say your career, you were able to, you make a ton of money, you're now a millionaire, you retire, you're able to live on a lavish island. Would you want to come back and be part of the team again if you had no other responsibilities?
If I didn't have any other responsibilities, yeah, definitely. Like even if I was properly capable, I would like invest in this project, like to try and, if it's possible, I can. But because of all the regulations and all the things that we cannot do in terms of project and the money, obviously. But yeah, if I had no responsibilities and keeping all the regulations of how a private server should be run, yeah, I'll definitely come back, because I think it's worth it. It's worth to work with the people that I worked with, and it's worth to invest time in the community.
Okay, I know, I appreciate that. That was so. So what you're saying is that if you were able to devote on your personal side, if you had no other responsibilities, you would be back on the team tomorrow. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, because the reason why I love the team, again, like we left on great terms. The only reason why I left is because I knew that I couldn't give my 100% to the team and to the community, which is not really my way. So I'd rather like to step down and leave the space for someone else. Because the role is really like it's an enjoyable role if it's done properly, but it needs a lot of time investment because you're not handling code. Like you don't come at night, you sit on your computer and you crack the code down and you finish your stuff and leave. It's always talking to people and aligning with several people with several departments. Um, so yeah, if I don't have any time, if I have all the time and no responsibilities, I would definitely would love to come back.
So, how much money do I need to raise so that way you can retire and come back to the team full time? What does that number look like? Where you have no personal responsibilities. How much money does that take?
It's not about money. It's like a personal. Like I know it's a joke, but it's like I have like this precise path, in my career to follow. So for me as a person, even if I have enough money to live comfortably, I would always work in my field because I like it, like in paid media.
Well, so far I have $30 being donated to you to come back. Is $30 enough? Or do you need more money than $30?
Yeah, it's enough. No, like jokes aside, again, like it's not about money. It's more about the fulfillment of my goals in life.
Well, how about if we can fulfill all your goals within the project? Like, is that not enough for Gamesbond? Is that not enough fulfillment?
No, like these, it's like too personal now. No, like it's
I'm giving you a hard time. I appreciate it. I'll move on. I'm just giving you a hard time. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me.
yeah.
um, let's see here. Really, that's honestly all of the questions that I got from the forum and directly in anything else. So I'm gonna open it up for about 5 or 10 minutes, if Gamesbond allows, for any questions in stream to ask, and then we'll go ahead and end it at that point. What do you say, Gamesbond?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to the community in the stream. So go ahead and ask any relevant questions, and I'll go ahead and we'll bring it up to Gamesbond here. Okay, so here goes a good question from a if you were able to start your own private server, money is no object. What game would you be starting a private server of?
I mean, I've heard of WildStar. I know, like there's a private server, by the way, being created for WildStar. In case you didn't know, you can check it. Like whoever asked the question, and I would honestly like have a proper Warhammer with like it's not like a new server, but I would try to make sure this server, all the technical issues and these things and the head count, uh, are covered.
So you
I don't know
don't
if I
so
answered.
so so you don't have a specific game that you would just love to bring back and play? GameSpawn doesn't have that game that's no longer available that you would want to just bring it back and run it?
I mean, like honestly, like most of my MMO experience was on Guild Wars 1. Like I love the game, but it's like I think it still has its own servers, if I'm not mistaken. World of Warcraft has like tons of servers, and it's not like now you have Classic again, so it doesn't make sense. Uh, it's just really Warhammer that had this edge over the other games when it came down to PvP. I know Wildstar was nice as much as people say, but I never played it. So yeah, it's really like just Warhammer because it's the only MMO that has a unique selling point, which is the vast open world PvP with with all the features in it, including simple things like body block, having like the Holy Trinity. Because I know Guild Wars has like structured open world PvP, but doesn't respect the Holy Trinity or body block or anything.
That's actually a great point. That's actually one reason why I continue to play on the server is, and I think the majority of the player base would probably agree with me, is that why they're still here, even though this game is going on, almost 2 decades old, almost. Why they're still playing here is because it offers an experience that even current MMO games don't offer, which is the open world campaign, the body block, the PvP action. It's something that's not really developed much these days, in my opinion. I think that's why people still play the server, which is another reason why I think even games like Dark Age of Camelot, which is a private server and also still a live game, is still fairly popular, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So if you were able to add a different class or faction to this game, what would that be? And let me ask you this question real quick before I do that. Do you like having just the 2 faction system, or do you think Warhammer would have been better with a 3 faction system?
I mean, I think like in terms of like I tried games with 3 factions. It doesn't always go the way you think it would go. One of them is Gloria Victis. It's like a medieval game where it has 3 factions. Everything is open world PvP. In my experience, I played it for I think like for a year. There was always like 2 main factions and one underdog. Even though they give incentives to switch to the other faction, to the underdog faction, but even then, a 3 faction system will keep on creating this gap because it's a player mentality, and it includes me and you. Like we wouldn't want to play in an underdog faction where you can't even have fun. You can't like even go out of your base or your castle or whatever without getting slaughtered by a whole raid. On a personal level, I prefer 2 factions. Maybe it's because like we were like most of us were we grew up playing World of Warcraft. The 2 faction system is in our mind. Maybe we loved it, like how it used to be in the old days. But yeah, like 2 factions for me is preferable.
So you prefer the 2 faction system?
Yeah, I think the only game that and like by only I mean like the ones that I played at least that managed to really hold up 3 factions is an MMO RPG shooter games called PlanetSide 2. So they have 3 factions, and you can feel that each faction wins the battle at some point. If you open the map, you never see one faction being completely destroyed. It's always these 3 factions, efficiently and competitively battling to control the planet. Other than this, like I've never honestly had a good experience with 3 factions.
Okay. I never played PlanetSide 2 myself, but I know of players that have, and they actually still do. So I'm pretty sure it's a pretty popular game. What was your favorite class to play on Warhammer on the private server? Like, what did you prefer to play? What did you enjoy the most?
So in all of my games, like playing Dota, Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, anything, Warhammer, I like support classes. So, like I like to support people on the battlefield or anything. this satisfaction when like you save someone, you protected someone, you shielded the whole push. So this is my type of gameplay. So what I like the most is Swordmaster and I forgot the class's name, but the healer for the Empire.
The warrior priest.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a disappointment. Like I'm just 10 months away, and I forgot the.
You have forgotten everything already. Okay, that's fair enough. Why? This isn't. This is kind of a facetious question, so please just go ahead and disregard. But I'm gonna make a funny question anyway. But why is there such a destro bias on the project team leaders? Wait, why do they all love Destro more than Order? Why do all the changes go on Destro way and not Order's way?
It's weird. Like when I hear this, like I used to hear it before when I was like part of the team, but it's always weird because most of the team plays on Order, or at least like their main characters are on Order. Yeah, like I just find it weird. Even then, even like that doesn't matter where they play on because everybody plays both sides. But if you wanna like say that they are focusing on one side, at least it should be Order. Otherwise, like doesn't make sense. But there's definitely no bias to any faction. It's just a normal thing to do when the other faction gets buffed this week. You would accuse the team of preferring the other side, and then the week later, when your own side gets buffed, you don't say anything, but the other side will say that the team prefers the opposite side again. It's one thing about it's one negative about how people give feedback. If they are satisfied, they rarely give any feedback, or they rarely point anything out, which is normal. Like we all do these things, even like at restaurants and whatever. If you're fine, you don't say anything. But the moment you have an issue, you would talk to the manager, you would write a feedback, you would go on social media, and in our case, you would go on the forum. So this is what people need to always keep in mind. The minority will always have like a huge voice on forums and really everywhere. It's just how things go. Like it's just how we are built, I guess, as people. If we're happy, we don't say anything. If we're not happy, we go all the way out to make sure our unhappiness is expressed.
But no, I fully 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. So ultimately, what you're truly saying, without actually saying outright, is that even though the majority of the team plays Order, for example, Max Heyman plays a Knight of the Blazing Sun. Even though they play Order, they still prefer Destro bias. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, so we'll move on. To the last question. I'm kidding. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing.
Yeah, I figured it out. But I was drinking.
So, I really don't see any other questions that I feel that is really valid. So I'm going to go ahead and let you close it out. Well, I'm going to ask one more question. Then we'll go ahead and end it out. And that is, to have this game succeed further than what it currently has already, for it to succeed longer for the next 10 years, what do you think this game needs?
I think it needs like a combination of things, and it's not that the team is doing anything, like doesn't mean that they're doing anything wrong now. It just means that they either don't have the full capability or the full structure of the team, or money. Because I think one of the most important things, and like everybody, whenever they play Warhammer Online, or I heard it like a lot in the Lazy P on Wave, it's a hidden gem. But the fact is that like very few people have heard that the server still exists. So I would say promotion is one of the most important things that could push, the server up. But before that, like before promoting any game or any product, like the worst thing you can do is promote it on a bad like when the infrastructure, if that makes sense, is still not ready. So before that, I think the engine, if it could be better, the lags, the disconnections, the major bugs. Now they're working on this ability system, which is great. Like it's part of the long-term improvement of the server. Yeah, so there's no like clear answer. I think it's a combination of everything. And I'm pretty sure that they are on the path, or they at least have the will to do this improvement for the long run. Because if you go back like 3 years ago, like half of the stuff we have now are like weren't there. If you go back just like I think a year and a half ago, 2 cities weren't even there. So the team is doing like as much as they can. We just need, like, as players, we just need to understand that they have technical limitations from one side and manpower limitations from the other side. Which leads me back to the point where if you're able to support the project, like if you're skilled in coding or whatever, reach out to the developers. If you're willing to host events, to support the community, if you want to enforce the rules, reach out to the GMs. If you want to be like on the friendlier side, because you don't have to really enforce rules, you don't have to look like the bad person, even though like GMs aren't, but they're always labeled as the bad person. If you want to be like on this safest side, join the CM team. If you like the game, just try to do something to support the game.
Definitely, I 100% agree with you. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to kind of say what you want to say. If you have anything that you want to say on a personal level, and then I'm gonna say I appreciate your time very, very much. So Gamesbond, do you have any final words of wisdom, or anything a personal side that you want to leave us with?
Well, I think like I mentioned all these wannabe wisdom things like throughout the questions. But like my last like wish to players, like I've been inside the team. I started as a player. I've been inside the team. I know how they think. You need to trust them. You need to be patient with the team, and you need to understand that there's absolutely no reason for these people to do harm to the game, because they are sinking. Now I'm not gonna talk in hours. It's actually years of their time. Like some people have been here for what, like 8 years. So be respectful to them. If you want to give feedback, make sure that your feedback is constructive. Anybody could say that this event sucks, but it takes some thinking to say why it wasn't good, to make sure the events that are coming in the future are better. The same thing for balance. I'm gonna say like one last thing. Maybe it's not gonna be well received by a lot of people, but as much as your opinion matters, and it does really matter for the team, and this is my personal opinion, it says an opinion. It doesn't mean that it's 100% right. You could be wrong, just like any other person could be wrong, just like any other developer could be wrong. So if we can combine all these things, that we all want the good for the game. None of us has like the perfect solution for anything. We all just need to bulk up our feedback, constructive feedback, and the things could be more positive.
I 100% agree with you, and I'm gonna say I appreciate your time very much, Gamesbond. I appreciate you being open and available to the podcast interview, whatever you want to call it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I want you to know that I'm gonna speak for the community, even though I don't talk to everyone. You are a missed individual that's part of the program, and we will do whatever we can to get you back into the program. So that all being said, thank you very much for your time. You have a wonderful, safe weekend, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk to you tonight, and thank you for everyone who spent their time, their afternoon here to listen. I hope I was able to answer most of the questions, and every single question was, pure honesty. Like, as you know, Tosh, like I'm a straightforward person. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you all.
No, it was all straightforward, and it's been confirmed that there is destro bias within the team. You have confirmed
Yeah.
that. So thank you very much, Gamesbond, and I will let you go. Thank you.
All right. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, everyone. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. I am gonna be streaming some more. However, I actually have a personal thing that I need to take care of. That I don't want to just leave the stream running and have you guys look at a blank screen for, an hour or so. So I'm going to I'm going to raid a fellow streamer, and then I'll be back late. I'll be back a little bit later on today, and then we'll get some Warhammer content going. But I do appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all providing feedback. I hope you all had a good time. I know I did not ask all of the questions that you guys posted. Honestly, but I hope I was able to provide a fun experience and an experience that we all took away from it as a positive one. So, thank you all.